Hi, I'm Michelle Sakurka. The New Jersey Business and Industry Association is committed to educating the public about the important issues impacting New Jersey's businesses and economy. That's why we're proud to support the important programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Summit Medical Group, a physician-owned multi-specialty medical practice serving northern and central New Jersey in 70 locations. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates, Johnson & Johnson, Valley National Bank, United Airlines, and by Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and northjersey.com. And by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association.
Welcome, folks. I'm Steve Adubato. Everything you ever wanted or needed to know about nursing. Gentleman right here knows it. He is Dr. Benjamin Evans, president of the New Jersey Nurses Association. Good to see you, Ben.
Good to see you, Steve. Thanks for inviting me.
We've had a whole range of conversations about nursing. I've done work seminars and we've had legislative forums with you and your colleagues. But the issue that keeps coming up right now in the State House is staffing ratios. First of all, what does it mean and why does it matter to the people we care most about, the patients?
Well, we want to ensure that patients get quality care. And there are two schools of thoughts on staffing. There's a school that says you have so many patients per each nurse, and the other one is you take a look at the acuity of the patient's needs, how sick they are, what are their levels of care, and the mix of the nursing experience. So if you had a ratio number, you could have one brand new nurse with 4 to 5 patients, and that meets what you need. However, if 3 of those patients have very heavy needs, that new nurse may be a bit overwhelmed. So if you look at the acuity model, you may have a nurse who has an assistant who is a seasoned nurse on that unit taking care of other patients. But between the new nurse and the seasoned nurse, they would be able to meet the needs of the patients a little bit better.
Ben, what I'm curious about is, to what degree do you think the average person watching right now, a better educated person, particularly on a public television audience, understands that there are different types of nurses with different degrees of experience, education, et cetera?
Yes. Nursing's one of those multi-entry professions.
And you have your doctorate.
I do.
In the field of?
Nursing.
Right.
My doctorate is in nursing practice.
Right.
The registered nurse can start at the associate degree level, which is
RN.
a 2-year RN, and sit for the same
Associate
exam.
degree, 2 years.
2 years. Then there is the bachelor's degree, 4 years. There is a second degree entry program, which someone with a bachelor's degree in another discipline can come in about 18 months, complete the core nursing courses and sit for the examination. Beyond that, then, are the graduate and doctoral degrees that prepare folks to be educators, administrators, leaders.
You know, the whole question of the quote-unquote nursing shortage, what is it? Is it what it was 5 years ago, meaning how serious it is? Talk about it.
Right now, there's not a real nursing shortage. The wave is coming as the boomers age out. So as those of us in that baby boom age are getting a little bit older and looking towards retirement, there will be a deficit of nursing. And not a lot of folks are choosing to go into nursing anymore.
Because?
It's a heavy position, and the schedules, no one takes Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 to be sick. It's around the clock, 24/7, 365. And so nursing can be challenging for those who are raising families and trying to make ends meet.
My question is, how do you get talented, caring, empathetic people who can make a difference to go into nursing, given what you just described?
Well, I think it's visibility. Nursing has a very low visibility. And
what do you mean visibility?
Well, people don't really know what a nurse does. And it's
They
hard
know
to
when they're
explain
sick.
it. They know when they're sick, but most folks don't know. You can't go home and talk to your spouse or your partner about, oh, here's what I did today. You know, I had a Jackson Pratt that wasn't working well, and that kind of stuff. And so what we do, how we do it, is not well known. And so, you know, you could say, oh, I'm going to be a teacher, or I'm going to be a firefighter. People kind of automatically know that. A nurse, it's like, well, you just kind of like help out. And it's like, not so.
Well, in fact, by the way, to make it clear to folks, we're involved in a public awareness initiative with the association to explain to folks what nursing is, in fact, all about. I'm also curious about this nursing schools.
Yes.
Right? How has nursing education changed, just say, in the last 5 to 10 years?
Well, there's been a move to take a look at the types of coursework, move it into interprofessional education where disciplines get out of their silos and work better.
That's better for patients, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. If I'm only understanding nursing and you're only understanding pharmacy and someone else is only understanding medicine,
silos,
you don't speak the same language.
So does that change, ultimately, potentially, let's put it this way, could it change the curriculum, if you will?
It does change the curriculum. In fact, many schools now have programs for a master's in hospital administration, and those candidates take nursing courses.
Right.
And some of the nurses get into the business courses so that we have a little bit better understanding of what other folks are doing.
Talk about nurses' role in this way. What is, Jackie, is it called joint protocol? Yeah, what is joint protocol and why does it matter to this discussion?
The joint protocol is enacted in the state law for advanced...
State of New Jersey law.
Well,
we're seeing it in many states. Is it every state? No.
No, 17 states have done away with it. They
have done away with joint protocol. What is it?
The joint protocol says that a nurse who is prescribing medication as a nurse practitioner, certified nurse midwife, a clinical nurse specialist, or an APN anesthesia...
Advanced practice nurse.
Advanced practice nurse. Must have a physician collaborator. They are not a supervisor, they are a collaborator who can be called if there is a need for it. Joint protocol.
And you say?
We say that that was nice in 1994 when advanced practice nurses were first given prescriptive privileges. We now have several decades of research that shows that nurses practice safely, and it is no longer needed.
By the way, let's make sure we do this. Jackie, because there are different views on this, correct?
Correct.
Let's make sure we have folks from the Medical Association, Medical Society, I guess that is the organization that represents physicians. I'm not saying all physicians feel one way and all nurses feel another, but there is, let's just say, a spirited dialogue, Dr. Evans, going on in the State House on this issue. Is that a fair assessment?
That's a very fair assessment, Steve.
Is it the legislature and ultimately Governor Murphy who determined this?
Yes, it would have to be enacted through a bill to remove the joint protocol, and the governor would have to sign that into law. Great.
By the way, Ben, I want to thank you for joining us, and on behalf of all of us who have been patients or family members of patients, where nurses are key, we just say thank you to everyone in the nursing profession.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
This segment is simply part of a much larger initiative that we're involved in here in public television and FiOS on all of our platforms called Right From the Start NJ. It's a public awareness campaign that tries to focus on the issues that matter, the challenges, the opportunities for infants and toddlers. And we are pleased to welcome as part of that series, Kaitlin Mulcahy, Associate Director of the Center for Autism and Early Childhood Mental Health, Montclair State University, a great university.
Yes.
Happens to be my alma mater,
Oh,
great place. So this Right From the Start NJ campaign, you were part of a forum with 8 professionals in the field. What was the biggest takeaway for you? We did 3 half hours. By the way, go on our website, Right From the Start NJ, you can see excerpts from it. What was your biggest takeaway? Because I thought, are we going to have enough to talk about? That's an hour and a half.
Yeah, no, the biggest takeaway was that we didn't have enough time to talk about all of the ways that this campaign can impact our society.
Like?
So when we talk about infants and toddlers, we talk about prenatal, parenting, we hit everything: economics, politics, workforce, how we are as a society. We actually, education, health, it is the start of who we all become. So it's almost like you can never have enough time to talk about it.
Why don't we, as a society, talk about infants and toddlers and prenatal care more?
I think, unfortunately, our paradigm has been towards intervention down the line.
What does that mean?
So intervening
Wait till
when
there's a problem later?
Right, intervening in problems rather than promoting health. And you can look at lots of politics to see that that's how our paradigm has been. I think we have an opportunity now to shift.
Paradigm meaning our model, our worldview, the way we choose to deal with things.
I think we have an opportunity now to shift and understand that that is not only expensive, it's too late. We need to think about early intervention as early as we can.
Define it. Early intervention for what and with whom?
For families at the beginning. So the earliest
Give us
moments.
a for instance.
Earliest moments of family development, prenatal. We don't do enough to support families when they're expecting children, particularly in different communities. So there's an enormous disparity in the access to prenatal care.
I mean, but no disrespect, I'm devil's advocate.
Yeah.
The baby's not there.
Right, not yet.
Okay, so what?
Why is it so important?
Yeah.
Because of what we have learned about the brain growth in the womb and also prenatal experience for parents. So a pregnant mom, if she's under stress, the baby feels that stress.
The baby feels this way?
Yes, yes.
Biologically?
And biologically feels that stress and actually can have their genetic code changed because of the stress of the parent.
Therefore?
Therefore, we have to start that early, supporting our young families so that they can get a better start in life. The amount of research that's been done on how important early intervention is to prevent issues down the line, like special education, juvenile delinquency, promoting graduation in high school, all of that can be linked to the first 3 to 5 years of life.
So it's interesting when someone, and I know there are studies that back this up, and we did talk about it in our forum, right from the Start NJ forum. But what struck me is someone says, well, you know, say it costs check on this number, between $30,000 and $40,000 a year to house someone in a correctional facility.
Right.
Well, you don't have a choice. Meaning you don't
Right.
get to say as a taxpayer, I don't want to support that. Meaning it's going to happen.
Right.
There is a connection, unless I have this wrong, between what happens birth, prenatal, if you will, to 3. If that infant toddler does not get what he or she needs, particularly given other socioeconomic factors, there's a greater likelihood that that person, as he or she grows, could potentially wind up
Yes.
dealing with criminal issues. Am I making too much?
Yes, no.
Am I oversimplifying it?
No, I think we have to speak quite clearly, and you can do a linear watch from what happens in the earliest years to what happens later. And typically it has to do with educational outcomes. And then from there, we know that if you don't have strong education, you're not going to get a job. When you don't have a job, you don't have economic opportunity, and you look for other adaptive strategies, oftentimes, that might take you to a criminal behavior. So from the beginning, you can actually prevent those things which cost way more money.
Talk about cost. Early childhood professionals. And I say professionals because some are professionals.
Yes.
Some just work there. They're not,
Yes.
I shouldn't say they're not professionals, but they don't have
No.
all the same
Right.
credentials. How well trained are they, and how consistent is that training?
Right, it's not consistent. And unfortunately, while some people might have beautiful hearts and be amazing caregivers,
They really care.
they really care. It is a hard job. People call it babysitting. It's actually brain building.
Brain building?
Brain
What
building.
do you mean by that?
We know that the earliest relationships are what builds the brain in the first 3 to 5 years of life. It's those children's relationships with caregivers. So when we sort of disparage these people who do this work all day long.
Oh, they're babysitting.
They're babysitting, yes. And some of our families have to use care from 6 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. at night. So yes, it's absolutely parents' job to raise children. I've heard that argument many times. Oh, it's a parent's job. We don't want to put our money into these public services. But for many, many families, they are using public services from 6 in the morning to 6 at night. So those caregivers at those centers are crucially important to those children. It's not taking away the parent. It's saying, we've got to bring everybody in. It actually literally does take a village. That is not a saying. That is not a political statement. That is truth. That is fact. Anybody who has a family knows that regardless of socioeconomic status, you need your people. You need your people around you.
Sorry for interrupting. What is it, Kaitlin, that what should we be doing as a society, whether in terms of public policy or actions in other ways to raise the standards for those who are caring for the most vulnerable, infants and toddlers.
Yes, I think initially it needs to go with raising their wages. It's very difficult to ask those people who work in that field to go to school to get more education when they don't have a living wage to go to their jobs. And most of those families, most of those women principally who work at these child care centers also have to send their children to child care. And because they make a certain wage, the children, their children are going to less quality child care centers. And it's this cascade of disparity. So first, their wages need to be increased without question. Then, yes, we do need to professionalize. And we are doing a good job in this state, actually. We are working to professionalize the workers who work in early care and education through a number of different initiatives. One is the Grow NJ Kids initiative.
Grow NJ Kids. By the
Yes.
way, go on our website right from the start, NJ. You'll see this initiative. Tell everyone again what it is and why it matters.
So that's the name in New Jersey for our quality.
Grow NJ Kids.
Grow NJ Kids. It's our quality rating improvement system. So the quality rating improvement system is actually a national initiative to raise the quality of early care and education in the states. And states sign on, and we have done that. And one of the things that's required is to professionalize, to raise the training of the people who are doing the work. We also have professional organizations like the Coalition for Infant Toddler Educators, and one that I'm involved in, which is called the New Jersey Association for Infant Mental Health.
All these organizations will be listed on this campaign on the website. Before I let you go, what do you hope right from the start NJ accomplishes over the several years that we hope to be doing what we're doing?
Yes, so I think a huge opportunity is to ensure that many people who interact with infants, toddlers, and young children are brought to the same table, similar like you did today. We talked about how...
In the forum.
In the forum, yes. There's more to talk about. There's so much more to talk about. And because it touches so many different constituents and agencies, it's important for us to be on the same page. We can't prioritize one thing over another. Universal pre-K versus early intervention versus home visiting. That's not our job. Our job is to say this is all connected. If we actually want to be right from the start, we all have to be together.
Can't thank you enough for being part of this most important effort, and thank our friends and colleagues at the Montclair State University. Well
Yes,
done.
thank
Stay
you.
right there. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you, Kaitlin.
Thank you.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Pleased to welcome Dr. Shawn Arent, Director of the Rutgers Center for Health and Human Performance. Good to see you, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
Talk to us about an issue you're very interested in. Let's call it childhood fitness.
Yeah. So, you know, it's been interesting because at Rutgers, as part of the Institute for Food, Nutrition, and Health, there's a big childhood obesity focus. And while I think that's important, the other thing that we do within the Center for Health and Human Performance is realize that you might have 10 to 15% of adolescents that are considered overweight or obese. But that number grows to 65 and 70% overweight when you start to look at adults. So clearly somewhere along the way, there's more and more and more and more. So what we've really tried to do is focus on the fitness aspects of the child rather than just keying in on the obesity, you know, because we're trying to stem the tide. And one of the things that I like to focus on is athleticism. You know, and I treat it like everybody's an athlete when we do it that way.
Even if they're not in competitive athletics?
Yeah, because it's a skill set. You know, so athleticism isn't just about being an athlete. It's about having confidence in your movement patterns. It's about being able to perform different skills repetitively and with a degree of precision. And it makes us more functional in a lot of different environments. And what's really interesting, though, is, you know, about 72% of school-age children are involved in at least one organized sport. So from a sporting context and developing athleticism, you actually do target a majority of the population that way. But I think when you look at developing motor skills and functional capacity and things like that, you know, there's something to be said for treating all of us, you know, we were designed to move. You know, from an evolutionary biological standpoint, we were designed to move. And I think we've managed to engineer that out of a lot of our daily stuff. And what we're trying to do is build it back in and make it valued really from a health and performance standpoint.
You have a partnership with Horizon.
Yeah, with Horizon New Jersey Foundation.
Describe it.
So what we've done is we're actually going into a few schools around the New Brunswick area. And what we're doing is we're using an athlete mentor model. And so what we're doing is using college athletes from Rutgers as well as some of the professional athletes that we work with. And they're going to go in and help deliver nutrition education, motor skill development, and work with like the physical education classes in the schools. So we're trying to get a few of those schools on board. And then what we want to do is then over the course of the year, really teach those skill types of things. Not just sport, but just motor skill. And then what we're going to do is at the end, based on scores within the schools, we're going to hold a Rutgers Horizon Day at Rutgers University and actually have these schools kind of compete against each other with different skills challenges, not necessarily sporting challenges, but physical skill. And the idea is to build school pride, to get these kids involved, to make them a little more well-rounded when it comes to their physical ability.
What's the long-term payoff for these kids?
I think the long-term payoff is giving them the skills necessary to be physically active for life. It's interesting when we think about physical activity, we know it's good for us, right? But when you look at the number that actually do it at a level enough to improve health and improve fitness, you're talking maybe 20, 30% if you're lucky. And so what we're trying to do is give them a skill set where they feel confident enough to continue to be physically active. And I think the thing that's always struck me, we often talk about the value of physical activity when it's absent. So in other words, we talk about type 2 diabetes, obesity, and things like that. When you look at it from a human capital standpoint, where we have social, emotional, physical, economic benefits that go with this, I think putting physical activity into the mix rather than worrying what happens when you take it out is a more positive approach to it.
How'd you get into this?
Oh, man, I grew up as an athlete, and this has always been a huge part of my life. I've been lucky to be around sport and around some amazing people. And I think for me, I just have a passion for using something that's been so good to me, in terms of allowing me to do some of the things that I have and using it to benefit these kids. And I think, I remember when we were kids, man, come summertime, sun up to sundown, we're outside playing, and it's funny, you go
today?
Today you don't see it anymore.
Has this, I have my iPhone somewhere, I try to keep it off the set, have handheld devices, digital communication, has it complicated the effort to have younger people be healthier?
Yeah, ironically, I think what's happened is we've become so reliant on, and here's the thing, if we use it right, it could actually be a huge benefit, right? Because we're using technology to help them gauge what they're doing, maybe, give them different things. We're actually doing a study with adolescent cancer survivors, and we designed an online app for them to be able to track their workouts and kind of contribute as a community into what they're doing and have a social concept to it. So I think that part's good, but I also think that we become so reliant on technology that we forget to unplug. And I actually have a good friend of mine, Andy Galpin. He's a professor out in California at Cal State Fullerton. He wrote a book called Unplugged, and it's about how we've become so reliant on technology that we forget to engage with nature and listen to how we feel.
Engage with nature.
Yeah,
What does that mean?
So for example, getting outdoors and appreciating, an outdoor run or a bike ride, or, for me, it's surfing or skiing, and things like that. So I think when we start to engage in the world around us instead of here, you start taking in.
Before I let you go, I'm curious about this. Even though I'm asking about our kids, it's true for anyone out there.
Sure.
So we have 3 younger kids, teenagers, and a young little girl who's 7. And there are times that they'll all be in their separate rooms. And they're all athletic. Mm-hmm. They can, and if we're blessed, they're able to be athletic. But I'll notice they're all in their rooms. They're in the rooms, and they're doing their thing. And one kid will say to the other, why don't we go out in the yard and kick a soccer ball, or two older boys play baseball? And inevitably, one of them or both of them will say, the other two will be like, now we're in the middle of some digital game, something going on, virtual relationships, God knows what they're doing. And I begin to realize, the point I'm trying to make here is, how do you undo it once they get to that point?
Yeah. It's a good question, and that's part of what we're working on, is to figure out how to unravel the web we've weaved.
Unplug, as you said, the name of your friend's book.
Yeah, and it's fantastic because it's really this idea that to step away from these things and actually start to pay attention to how you feel. You see it with teenagers, they're walking, they're on their phone, they're not talking to the person next to them.
That's right.
They're FaceTiming, they're messaging, but we've taken out a lot of that interaction part, and that includes physically. We've just, we've inadvertently engineered it out of what we do. And what our goal is, what we try to do at the Center for Health and Performance at Rutgers, is engineer it back in.
Real quick before I let you go, that's one thing to say that Rutgers is doing this, but you can't do it alone. The importance of partnerships.
Yeah, so we're very lucky. We work very closely with the Horizon Foundation now, and obviously childhood obesity and health is a big focus of theirs. So they've been good enough to give us a grant to try to do something about this. We work closely with Quest Diagnostics with their Blueprint for Athletes and looking at biomarkers that predict health, disease, performance, and really taking a positive approach to it. And then honestly, just the support we receive even internally at Rutgers and trying to make New Jersey the healthy state is really a huge part of it.
Dr. Arent, thank you for joining us. By the way, Horizon is a supporter of NJTV News and of our production company as well, their foundation. But I want to thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Summit Medical Group, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates, Johnson & Johnson, Valley National Bank, United Airlines, and by Choose New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
Highly educated and perfectly located in the heart of the Northeast Corridor, New Jersey provides access to top talent and one of the most concentrated and diverse consumer markets in the world. A business located in central New Jersey has access to more than 22 million consumers within a 2-hour drive. Whether it's our strategic location, transportation systems, reliable utilities, or talented workforce, New Jersey has all you need to grow your business. To learn more, visit choosenj.com.